Whoopi Goldberg, because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So everybody was like, "Oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma." First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no thing as karma, okay? Get over that.
Political debates today have become less about reasoned dialogue and more about clashing worldviews. Recently, Bill Maher found himself head-to-head with Whoopi Goldberg, delivering his trademark mix of sharp wit and blunt reality checks. This wasn't your typical celebrity spat. It was a moment that exposed how fragile certain narratives become once they're challenged.
Understand that part of our sorry racial history in this country is that the point of view from a black person is often going to be very different and sometimes shocking.
Maher has long built his platform by taking on both the left and the right, but his latest back and forth with Whoopi Goldberg elevated the discussion. While she leaned on the well-worn progressive arguments familiar to anyone who's watched The View, Maher pushed back hard, exposing contradictions that left her scrambling. The exchange showed just how far elite liberal messaging has drifted from the concerns of everyday Americans.
You know, I watch your show all the time, so I know that you're a comic, but you basically go after Trump and Biden, you know, both of them. And a lot of people are not happy with you about that.
Equally.
Well, not equally, because you know that Trump is doing more dangerous.
Of course. I mean, I don't think anybody was more out front on that danger than I was.
To understand the weight of the debate, you have to look at the two figures themselves. Whoopi, a staunch defender of left-wing policies, often dismisses any critique of progressives as nothing more than conservative spin. Maher, however, doesn't fit neatly into that box. He's an old-school liberal who refuses to toe the party line. Their differing philosophies created the perfect stage for sparks to fly.
I was talking about how he was never going to give up power long ago when everybody was laughing at me and said, "You smoke too much pot." And I said, "I smoke just the right amount of pot." Because plainly, I was using the term slow-moving coup before he was elected the first time.
That's right.
I said, this guy is never going to concede power. It's impossible to imagine him going, I lost.
The clash escalated when Whoopi brushed aside worries about crime, inflation, and the struggles working families face. Maher immediately hit back, stressing that inflation and safety aren't abstract topics. They're real problems for millions of people. Rather than addressing those realities, Whoopi sidestepped the substance and leaned on outdated rhetoric, leaving the core issues unanswered.
Saying anything against Biden, because I feel, not that I have so much power, and you have some more than I do, obviously, but
I don't know about that.
Are you afraid that you might, influence people who are on the fence?
I think you lose all credibility.
Refusing to let weak logic slide, Maher drilled into one of the biggest flaws in her defense. He pointed out that progressive elites, particularly affluent white liberals, love to claim they're speaking for marginalized groups while consistently ignoring what those groups actually prioritize. Poll after poll shows Black and Hispanic voters care more about economic security and safety than culture war slogans. Whoopi's refusal to acknowledge that gap only highlighted the fragility of her argument.
My bond with my audience has always been, I don't pull a punch.
Yeah.
My bond with my audience is, you're not going to like everything I say,
yeah,
but you know I'm saying what I really think is true.
Right.
That's. And look, Biden just presents as old. It's not really fair.
No.
Because he's almost the same age. Trump is almost the same age as him.
The real turning point came when Maher shifted the focus to political hypocrisy. He brought up the controversies surrounding Hunter Biden, pointing out how Democrats who constantly preach accountability suddenly go quiet when one of their own is caught in scandal. Whoopi, visibly uneasy, tried to brush it off by insisting the issue was exaggerated. But Maher wasn't letting her off easy.
It doesn't present that way. You look at somebody right away, you can kind of just sum them up. I mean, we are not young, but we don't present as old.
Yeah.
Biden does. I saw him yesterday making that speech.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, he's cadaver-like.
But his brain is good. He's still great.
Well, here's what I said. Like when I came back after the strike in September, I said, he should get out.
He reminded the audience of President Biden's own declaration that no one is above the law, just before pardoning his son. That double standard, Maher argued, is exactly why Americans are losing faith in the system. If the rules only apply when convenient, then they aren't really rules at all. Whoopi's defense stumbled under the weight of his argument.
A conservative once said to me, what you guys in the liberal side of it don't get about Donald Trump is we don't like him either.
Yeah.
It's just that in this country, it's binary. I mean, gender may not be binary, but politics is. You only get two choices. And the stuff that they are afraid of, they see Donald Trump as a bulwark.
As the back and forth grew more heated, Maher turned the spotlight on the media's role in protecting the Bidens. He accused mainstream outlets of burying the Hunter Biden story in the run-up to the election, prioritizing narrative control over honest reporting. Instead of engaging with the evidence, Whoopi waved it off as nothing more than a right-wing conspiracy.
Buried the Hunter Biden story before the election because they were like, we can't risk having the election thrown to Trump. We'll tell them after the election.
Armed with receipts, Maher pressed harder, reminding her that even left-leaning journalists have admitted the Hunter Biden story was deliberately suppressed for political reasons. That, he said, is the real danger of woke politics. It's less about justice and more about controlling the conversation. Once again, Whoopi had no solid rebuttal, choosing instead to change the subject.
Obama had her over to the White House, like in 2013, to hint, hey,
Hint.
spend more time with the grandkids. That would not be a good idea, Ruth. And she didn't take the hint, and she was not in good health, and she stayed too long, and she ruined her legacy and got the Supreme Court now to be a pretty right-wing organization. Said Biden shouldn't do that, but ego. He's Dracula. He has crossed oceans of time to be here, and he's not going to give it up.
From there, the exchange widened into a critique of the progressive movement itself. Maher argued that questioning their ideas is treated like hostility, even though working-class Americans aren't buying the extreme narratives being pushed from the top. Instead of recognizing this disconnect, Whoopi dismissed those concerns as conservative talking points. Maher then broke down how the Democratic Party's sharp shift left has pushed away key voters, especially Black and Hispanic communities. Polls show these groups are more patriotic, more supportive of police, and less tolerant of unchecked illegal immigration than white progressives. Yet Democrats continue chasing elite activist approval, while ignoring the real priorities of the people they claim to represent.
That stuff is a lot closer to the home. It's like my kid is coming home from school and they're not allowed to tell me if they're transitioning. The school is going to take the side of the kid over the parent. Stuff like that. There is a lot of crazy stuff on the left. This book, there's stuff that each side is going to like and probably stuff they're not going to like so much.
Throughout the debate, Whoopi Goldberg struggled to defend her stances when confronted with Maher's fact-driven challenges. Instead of engaging with the specifics, she leaned on emotional appeals, vague rhetoric, and outright deflection. This pattern is common among many in the woke movement, where narratives are often rooted more in ideology than reality. A key moment came when Maher pressed her on the concerns of Black and Hispanic communities, who consistently prioritize safety and economic stability over progressive symbolism. Rather than acknowledge the point, Whoopi shifted to unrelated topics, exposing a central weakness in woke politics: the refusal to address inconvenient truths.
The term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything, and I know that you're...
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected.
Yeah.
So the term woke has been, in my view, co-opted by the right and weaponized and bashed. And so I was surprised to hear you use the term because historically, as you know, because I think you're quite brilliant, that woke is a word used by the Black community to note that we must be aware of social injustice.
With her arguments crumbling, Whoopi fell back on the victim card. She accused Maher of twisting her words and making her look bad. But Maher wasn't distorting anything. He was simply holding up a mirror. The problem was that Whoopi didn't like her reflection. When confronted with facts, she had no substantive answer.
Look, I'm not going to defend Donald Trump ever, but I would never say that we should put the swastika on the cap, because I think you can hate Donald Trump. You can't hate everybody who likes him. It's half the country. I don't want to live in that country. I don't want to live in the country where I hate half the country and I don't hate half the country.
How dare you disagree with me?
What made Maher's critique even more effective is that it came from within liberalism itself. He's not a conservative firebrand. He's a lifelong liberal with credibility to call out the excesses of his own side. His refusal to play by ideological purity tests has earned him criticism from progressive circles, but also respect from those who value independent thinking and open debate.
That's the answer to the Donald Trump situation is what's going to get him elected is this woke stuff that a lot of people in this country just don't go for.
Well, one thing that I break with is that you can disagree on candidates, but when one talks about literally upending the entire democracy, that's my heart out. There's not an equal comparison.
The most devastating aspect of Maher's dismantling was his delivery. He didn't need to shout or grandstand. With calm precision, he tore down Whoopi's arguments point by point. She was left visibly rattled, offering only vague rebuttals that failed to restore her credibility. Ultimately, this wasn't just about Whoopi. It reflected a much larger shift in American politics. Maher, once considered a liberal standard-bearer, has now become one of the movement's fiercest critics, not because he changed, but because progressivism abandoned its original principles.
Bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice, who's not for that? But words do migrate. Now, I'll use any term you want. Okay. Because maybe that is a word that's triggering, and so let's not use that word. I don't know, want to call it the super far left, but don't tell me the left had...
the super far.
The clash with Whoopi underscored a deeper divide within modern liberalism. Maher embodies the old-school wing that values free speech, open dialogue, and pragmatic solutions, while the woke faction prioritizes purity tests, cancel culture, and symbolic battles. This leftward drift has alienated many traditional liberals who feel their party no longer addresses real-life concerns like inflation, crime, and education. Instead, activists dominate the conversation with debates about pronouns and microaggressions. Maher's refusal to play along has made him a rare mainstream figure unafraid to expose these contradictions.
Talked about that. I mean, I think we agree about the danger of the super far right, and I can't say it enough. I think they're the bigger threat. But don't tell me that the left hasn't changed. Mm-hmm. I'm old enough to remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
His showdown with Whoopi also raised a larger question about the future of political commentary in America. As mainstream outlets grow more partisan, voices like Maher's stand out precisely because they defy both camps. His willingness to critique conservatives and progressives alike has won him respect from moderates and independents, even as it frustrates activists who demand absolute loyalty.
Women have this is a show watched by a lot of women. Women have no rights in this.
This debate also underscored a major shift in how Americans are choosing to consume political content. Traditional news outlets and celebrity-driven talk shows are losing their grip as viewers turn to independent commentators who deliver raw, unfiltered perspectives without the polished scripts and partisan spin. The rise of figures like Bill Maher, Joe Rogan, Russell Brand, and others is proof that there's a growing hunger for authenticity over ideology. People are tired of being talked down to by media elites who seem disconnected from everyday struggles. Instead, they're gravitating toward voices that actually acknowledge real concerns like inflation, crime, and education. If legacy platforms such as The View refuse to adapt and continue doubling down on their insulated narratives, they risk becoming irrelevant relics of a bygone era. Americans no longer want to be lectured by out-of-touch celebrities. They want straight talk about the issues that matter in their daily lives. Maher has shown he's willing to deliver that, even if it means clashing with ideological purists and losing favor among the activist class.
That was a joke. But,
too dark.
Well, maybe it is, but it's true. If I had any doubt that I was right about the change that's happened in the left, watching people...
Could this exchange mark a turning point? If Americans keep rejecting performative outrage and ideological rigidity, the woke establishment may find itself losing cultural ground faster than expected. Maher's takedown of Whoopi might not just be another debate highlight. It could be the start of a larger reckoning.